Hey, hello. I'm here to say I just had the opportunity last week to be a part of celebrating the passing in Massachusetts of the coercive control bill. So that bill was passed unanimously in our state of Massachusetts. And we just had a big celebration last week. And it was really inspiring to see all of these women band together to get this bill passed. All of the women who testified and their stories, it was very moving. It definitely had an impact on me. I have a couple of pictures from it, but they were very protective of the survivors. And one of the highlights for me, not just seeing all of these women get together and just unite and pull to get this done, but to also commit to doing more to kind of move things forward with awareness, with education for the courts, professionals, psychologists, teachers. Like there's just so much that needs to be done. And the next bill, I think, is going to be related to harassment through the courts, which is something that happens a lot as well. But it was just really beautiful to see all these people get together. And I got to see, I just recommended her book in my last episode or a couple episodes back, depending on when I share this. But Dr. Lisa Fontes, she's the one who wrote Invisible Chains. So it was really cool to meet her in person. She teaches at Amherst College and is often one of the people who testifies on the behalf of. And then Dr. Christine Cocciola, who has a book that's going to be out very, very soon called Framed, which is all about the family court system and what happens in the family court system that most people don't understand or have any knowledge of related to coercive control and abuse. And then she also has her new podcast, which is excellent, called Perfect Prey. So go check that out. And the basis and the foundation for that is coercive control, the impact on children, on adults who are coercively controlled as children, and then just that ripple effect of what coercive control can do to a family, to an individual, how insidious it is, how difficult it is to get people to really understand it. So again, this is one of those things where I was listening to somebody who is an advocate say she never thought in her lifetime that this bill would be passed, but it was passed. So it's very exciting. And yeah, the stories that I heard, especially happening in my own state with women and children, was just very, very hard to stomach. But I really appreciated being able to connect with these women in the flesh and really get to know them one-on-one. Been a crazy last couple of years for me. I haven't gotten out much. I've been very kind of isolated myself. So being able to get out and really connect with these people who I've been trying my best to support as soon as I knew it was happening, I actually didn't even know it was happening because that's the bubble that I'm in with my own stuff. So really excited. And I just wanted to hop on here and say, I've said it before, but I think things are changing and sometimes we don't feel like it's happening fast enough or we're stuck and feeling entrenched or like our kids are stuck and they're entrenched and it's never going to end. But I do believe that things are changing and I have a lot of faith that there's a lot of movement behind trying to clear the courts of corruption, trying to educate people about all different types of abuse. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I signed up. It's called TRACK. That's in Massachusetts, and I'm going to do my best to support that movement, that initiative in any way that I can. And yeah, I encourage you, if you're listening, you're in whatever state you're in, see if there's something going on related to this. If you're in Massachusetts, definitely check out the show notes where this is.
So I wanted to just share what this coercive control bill really is and means. So obviously it's a really positive thing because we're one of just a few states, a handful of states who have passed one of these bills into law. And our Governor Maura Healey did this in the spring, and I was able to attend the celebration for this. So I just wanted to kind of go through some of the definitions because this is something that maybe there's some action you'd like to take in your state to create something for this for your state. Definitely listen. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and some of the resources that they use to get this to happen. And yeah, just why it's so positive. So our governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey, signed this coercive control bill into law. and it cracks down on coercive control by domestic abusers and bans revenge pornography in Massachusetts. So I'm reading this right now because it's such a great synopsis. The synopsis in this article is written by Lisa Aronson Fontes. She is the author of
Invisible Chains.
It's a book I recommended a few episodes ago. I was able to meet her at this event. She is awesome. So we became the 7th state in the country to pass legislation classifying coercive control as a form of domestic violence. The state's Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence, Jane Doe, praised the bill. And if you want to look up the bill and read the details of it, especially if you want to get a bill like this passed in your state, maybe you can borrow some of that language, but the bill is H4744. She praised it as advancing essential protections for survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence across the Commonwealth. So what is coercive control? Well, coercive control, as is defined here, is a strategy that abusers use to dominate their intimate partners, and this is a pattern of behavior intended to threaten, intimidate, harass, isolate, control, coerce, or compel compliance of a family or household member that causes the family or household member to fear physical harm or have a reduced sense of physical safety or autonomy. And it specifically lists several coercive control tactics, including isolation, threatening to harm a child, a family member, or a pet, intentionally damaging property, threatening to release sensitive images or information, and more. So, in the passing of this bill, Massachusetts joins California, Connecticut, Colorado, Hawaii, Washington State, and New Jersey, which all have passed laws defining coercive control as a form of domestic violence in the past 5 years. So I met attorney Jamie Sabino, and she's with the Massachusetts Law Reform Institute. They have a quote here from her, and she says, "The survivor and expert testimony that influenced legislators spelled out the lifetime and generational harm caused by coercive control. Non-physical abuse like revenge porn, which is a form of technology abuse, is typically a precursor to more serious and violent acts, including sexual and physical assault or homicide. The new Massachusetts law does not criminalize coercive control. However, if an abuser has a protective order against them and commits coercive control, this can be considered a criminal violation of a protective order." So passing an initial law is a great first hurdle. While I was there, and I have more about what the celebration was, who the people there, but passing this law is great, but there were so many discussions during this celebration with the different women that I spoke with, and some of them went up and spoke more about what their intentions are. But this is something that will likely be improved over time and refined, and this is what happens in the other states where it's been passed. So subsequent legislation, for example, may establish that child safety is the first priority in custody and parenting adjudications and must be resolved as a fundamental consideration in determining the best interests of the child before assessing other best interest factors. This is currently the case in Colorado, so other states may follow that lead. So I think each of the states makes sense to me that they're all maybe going to go after different specifics and hopefully take the lead from the other states and pull those bills and specifics into the laws and expand on them. Hopefully that will happen. So there's one that's called the boyfriend loophole, which is a sticky point because family or household members are usually included in this coercive control piece, and so it does not necessarily apply to couples who haven't lived together, aren't married, and don't share children. So hopefully that's going to be addressed. I know the other big discussion was around court abuse, taking people back to court. There were a bunch of women there who, at the celebration I was at, who spoke, and we weren't allowed to have cameras. I was able to record some audio. I'll see if I can share some of their testimonies, but wow, just nuts what some of these women have been through for decades. Just the court abuse, especially just going back. That seems like one of the major things that Massachusetts is going to focus on next. So the push to pass this law was coordinated by a coalition formed for this purpose called Together Rising Above Coercion, or TRAC, T-R-A-C, statewide coalition of organizations, survivors, advocates, and allies, including Jane Doe Inc., the Massachusetts Law Reform Institute, Jane Does Well, and the Mass Family Advocacy Coalition, among others. The year-long efforts included targeting webinars, putting a book on coercive control into the hands of every legislator, letter writing campaigns, a day of testimony in the legislature, and more. And one of the women who gave her testimony at our legislature, her abuser, I'm trying to remember exactly how this happened, but they literally were given threats by him, and he tried to coerce the legislature to remove her testimony. And then he did the same thing when she spoke at a conference. He tried to get the whole conference shut down. It was a perfect example of this coercive control, and it actually, I think, underscored just how extreme this can go. And so it was passed unanimously on both sides of the House in our state, which is pretty amazing. So there's a poll quote here from Carmen Aliber. She says, "Abusers don't typically change, so the law must change to keep up with their tactics." And the coercive control law is a part of a larger bill that's expanding protections against abuse and exploitation. And with this bill, Massachusetts also joined 48 other states with laws against revenge porn or non-consensual sharing of sexual images. So the law also enhances education for young people about the dangers of sexting. So right now, South Carolina is now the only state with no laws prohibiting the non-consensual sharing of sexual images. So if you wanted to do something about that, there are a bunch of things that you can do to take action. You can educate yourself about coercive control. There's some amazing books. I'll put some in the show notes here, articles, webinars, podcasts. And if you think you know someone or you yourself may be coercively controlled by your partner or ex-partner, you can contact your local domestic violence agency, speak to a domestic violence advocate about your concerns, share information with people you know who you think are subject to coercive control, but maybe don't realize that this is something that's become a law and is definitely considered abusive. And then you can contact your state legislators to find out if there is a coercive control law in the works in your state and how you can be a part of that movement to propel forward laws on coercive control. Yeah, so this is very exciting. And in the rest of this, recording this separately. So in the rest of this podcast episode, I recorded how it was the celebration, the women that I ran into. It was a really exciting time. So more about that here. And yeah, just encouraging you to get involved. If this is something that you think you want to be a part of, definitely contact your legislators. Listen to the rest of this episode. Look in the show notes. There are key people that you could reach out to and kind of copy what they've done, the way that they formed their groups, and the practices that they used to get this bill passed in our state. So
let me know, what do you think needs to be focused on in the courts? Meeting all these people there, I brought up a ton of issues that I think are something that's been kind of a black hole. That's really just some things where there are gaps, not in the courts, but just in general with supporting children and women and survivors in general. And the main thing that I've seen recently is that, and I volunteered as a domestic violence shelter person many years ago, and I do believe there are lots of really good domestic violence programs, but what's missing is this piece after you leave. They're good at helping women get out and supporting them in getting out and getting to the next chapter of their lives. But what they don't really have is this post-separation abuse, the ongoing abuse that happens after you leave. And I know that they know it happens, but they just do not have enough in place. So hopefully there will be a movement to create more community, more support. We're doing it internally. I met with multiple women afterwards, and we're trying to pull together a way to do that in our local community. But I think that there needs to be another prong to that abuse scenario, and there needs to be more support. So if you guys have ideas, I would love to hear them. If you want to come on the podcast, if you're starting a nonprofit, you're writing a book, you have a blog, like whatever, I would love to hear what ideas you have based on your experience, what you've been through, where you were supported, maybe where you weren't supported, where you saw some gaps, and what ideas you have to support people in those scenarios. I actually have a very long list. I'm not going to go through it on this episode, but it ranges from mental health support for moms, mental health support and women, mental health support for children, bridge loans to help women get through the process of leaving, whether it's housing, legal, again, the mental health piece, keeping them safe, and then even just the physical piece of being able to restore and replenish after that emotional abuse, after the physical, the exhaustion, going through court, like all those things take such a toll on your mind and on your body and on your spirit. So finding a way to give back to the people who've been through that and kind of nurture them back to some semblance of stability and peace, but mainly in their bodies. Because I think in our bodies, when our bodies are in this fight or flight response and there's an immune attack on your system, you can just get sicker and sicker and sicker, even when it seems like the dust has settled. We know that's not always the case. It just may settle for a little while and then get kicked back up. But I feel like there needs to be more support for how to do that, how to maintain homeostasis in the midst of these up and down roller coaster storms that are going to happen throughout, and giving women and children skills to deal with all the things that come up. And this is why I really like the Perfect Prey podcast, because Dr. Christine Cocchiola is talking about those stories, different people's stories, and then talking about what needs to be done to kind of heal and focus on getting out of that situation or making yourself better, making yourself well, improving your situation. I would love to hear from you. If you want to leave something in the comments below, please do like, share, subscribe. If you're listening on your podcast player or on YouTube, I would love to have a subscription from you. It helps more people see this episode. All right. All for now, guys. See